Is BMW actually unreliable, or are people just exaggerating a little bit? Because you come across this a lot with your friends, with your families, with people you run into, and you find they've got problems with their BMWs, especially out of warranty, right? New cars are pretty good, new BMWs are good, but out of warranty you hear that. And then if you go online, if you go onto the forums, then you really hear it. Seems like everyone's rebuilding their BMW engine in their garage, or something's happening with their transmissions, $1,000 bills. Is there any truth to it? Here's the deal, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. BMW is a combination of cars that are built not super well. They're kind of fragile, kind of low-key fragile, and owners who don't really take care of them and owners who abuse them. It's a combination of those two factors. Now, I know I've got a lot of German car fans on my page. A lot of you came from many of my German car videos where I praise German cars, but also criticize them for the wrongs that they do. All cars have their pluses and minuses, but I do have to call out a pattern when I see it, and I've noticed this pattern over and over again. It's those two elements with BMW. Let's talk about element number one. That is the fragile nature of BMW. We all know that if you look for durability, reliability, and dependable cars, it's Toyotas. You can even notice it with your friends, families, and acquaintances. There are very few people I know who are having to rebuild their Toyota engines or transmissions. I don't know anyone who's had to rebuild their Toyota engine or transmission. That is because Toyota is generally built really well. They can do really high mileage and not need any rebuilds. In fact, Toyota's bottom end has been really good. The rod bearings, they last above 400,000 kilometers. Rod bearings on BMWs are pretty much a maintenance item. So there is that element where BMW is indeed quite fragile, and it's always been the bottom end for BMW. That's been a huge weakness. You'll destroy the entire engine. And often these BMWs are turbocharged. What happens when you do your bearings? Well, all of that metal circulates and it goes through your turbos. So you're having to get a new engine and new turbos. It's a double whammy. It's repeated with all the different engines BMW has: S54, N62, N63, S63, S65, S85, N55 PWG, N55 EWG, right? It's only in the M2 that you stop having those cases. But even then, a lot of BMWs just randomly spin their bearings, N20, N26 as well. So there is that definite fragile element. When I had my BMW, I had to do my auxiliary belt at 60,000 kilometers. When I said to a lot of my peers that I didn't like that, well, a lot of people in the BMW world said, well, that's general maintenance. I guess it is, right? When someone says an auxiliary belt is general maintenance, they're not wrong. Let me tell you something. Out of all the cars that I've owned, Japanese, non-Japanese, never had to do an auxiliary belt at 60,000 kilometers. And then I had a few other electric gremlins come up in my BMW. And I've never had those gremlins come up in any car that I've owned that was just 8 years old and driven so mildly. So there is that nature to that BMW, and it is exasperated by the fact that German cars overall do have a random nature where you can get a good egg and a bad egg, right? So I'm not going to use my specific example to blacklist BMW, but I know enough people, I've got enough contacts, I've got enough relationships where I can educate my audience to the nature of BMWs. And guys, they're just not as strong as a lot of people would have you believe, right? And the M cars are indeed built better. Even though they're built better, they're then beaten down on more, which makes them pretty much equal to the other BMWs. And that leads me on to point number two, which is the owners. When you go online, a lot of people blame BMW's faults to the owners. Say the owners are reckless, they don't know how to take care of cars. Is there truth to it? Or are they just coping? And guys, there is truth to it, right? But it's a combination. A lot of BMW owners do not check their oil. Well, first of all, BMWs don't have dipsticks anymore. It's all electronic. But a lot of the owners don't like checking their oil regardless. BMW has made it so you've got an electronic system and it'll tell you when you're running low on oil. Owners will ignore that. They'll ignore it. And I'm telling you this from experience. The amount of DMs I receive from people who say, I'll share this story. One of the guys messaged me and he said that he's been driving his BMW on low oil for the last couple of months, and just this morning his car said that it was below minimum, and to top it up immediately, right? That's when the red light comes on. And he said, can I still drive it to work for a couple of weeks because I don't have time to do an oil change? I thought to myself, that car is done for. First of all, do not drive it. When the oil is below minimum, you are going to absolutely do damage to that BMW. But you've been driving it at low oil for a couple of months. And guys, it was one of the engines that's bad to its bearings, right? It was an N55 motor. Now you've been driving this thing with low oil. So a lot of owners have that sort of behavior with BMWs. It's exasperated by the fact that BMWs actually consume oil. So on one end, you've got these people who are nonchalant about the oil in their car, right? Even though the BMW is saying to them every morning, you're low on oil. I'm sure that Bing is coming up. Every morning it's coming up, right? Low on oil, top it up. And they're ignoring it. And a lot of other cars, a lot of Japanese cars don't drink oil, right? Mercedes-Benz historically hasn't been a big drinker. Audi drinks oil. Volkswagen Group is a big drinker. Mercedes-Benz isn't. Japanese cars don't drink oil. BMW does drink oil, but the owners don't care. So that is a huge factor. The second factor is the demographic. The people that buy BMWs buy to have fun. In fact, most people I know who are buying Mercedes or Audi, they're pretty mature people. You know, I bought a BMW, so that says something about me as well. But most people, when they go to buy a Benz, they want that bit of luxury, they want that bit of style, they want that bit of heritage, right? When you buy an old Benz, a lot of the people that buy an old Benz buy it from that experience perspective. It's a Mercedes-Benz. Oh, it's got that heritage. I'll cruise in it. I'll drive it smoothly. People buy Audis. They do long distance journeys. They want to do it in peace. They like the way the Audi looks, the luxuries, the quality, because Audi is a pretty quality product. But when people buy a BMW, they want to do burnouts, they want to drift, they want to do donuts. Across the board, doesn't matter what age group, a BMW turns a hooligan out of anyone. So there is that element where these BMWs, they were fragile to begin with, and then they're beaten down on every day, every single day. What's the result? Well, a lot of people will tell you that, look, BMW is reliable and it's just the owners that treat them bad. And that's true, the owners do treat them bad. Look, it might be true that I'm completely wrong and BMW is actually a very robust brand. Okay, let's take that. Let's say BMW, when it was built, is a very robust brand, very reliable, and it's just the owners. And let's just agree that it's the owners who mistreat them, which is why they go wrong. Well, my rebuttal to that, guys, is it doesn't matter if you're buying a BMW in the used market. It doesn't matter, right? You say a BMW is reliable, I say it isn't. It doesn't matter who's right. What exists now is that the BMW is going to be unreliable. Because if it was reliable and it's beaten down by its owners, well, it's going to give you problems. If it was unreliable and the owners beat down on it, it's still going to give you problems. So the net result is that you have to prepare for problems. And that's all I'm trying to teach people about on my page. In fact, most people that I've helped them buy their BMWs or their German cars, right? Mercedes-Benz and Audi. And they're thankful for it because they like understanding the nature of the car and then making their decision from there. They know I'm not just going to feed them hype or cope and say BMW B58 is as reliable as a Toyota, even though that's a great motor. I hope you understand what I mean. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.